Hey guys, and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Arc Raiders. Today we're talking about Arc Raiders in the coming year of 2026. I want to state now that I think Arc Raiders is incredible, but at this point I feel Arc Raiders is not the perfect game, which is fine. There's just a lot of change I want to see, and they promise that 2026 will be a big year for content for this game. So what do we know, what's reasonable to expect, and what do I really hope to see that they've not really mentioned? Let's get into it. Firstly, the executive producer for the game stated that he is extremely excited for the future of Arc Raiders, and that they're not ramping content down, but actually ramping up the new content being added. That's a big statement, but a very positive one. But the information we have is currently very limited. There is a toxic swamp event or some sort of map modifier that's been data mined, which sounds like it could be comparable to something like Cold Snap, which has been really cool, with the way that you have to get into the warmer areas, inside buildings, or sliding around on frozen lakes. It's been great. So hopefully we achieve that with whatever the toxic swamp turns out to be. We've also had a roadmap for the game until the current patch. So we're expecting an updated one for 2026 or like the first quarter soon. Maybe it's already out when I make this video, but here's what we do know that's coming. We know that new map conditions are coming. Maybe these will be seasonal focused, whether you've got like the winter one right now, Cold Snap. Maybe in the summer you have like a really overly hot time, the summer heat or something. Maybe this is the category that Toxic Swamp falls into. And so maybe when we get towards like spring or wherever they do that, that's when that happens. Other obvious stuff is confirmed though, like new feats and trials. So hopefully more varied and interesting trials to attempt, instead of, killing 5 billion snitches, or killing 5 billion snitches so I can throw their drives and kill hornets or wasps. Something fresh and specific, that's what I want to see. Of course, they're also going to introduce new cosmetics, whether that's seasonal or these special releases that you pay for, and other important changes like quality of life and balance changes too. That's what we know is coming. But there's a lot more to that seems extremely likely. With them officially stating they're going to expand the world, introduce new arc threats, and adding many other new and exciting ways to play. Meaning very likely new maps, new arc, new weapons, and hopefully other tools to address them. Meaning utility items and attachments hopefully. Something like the snap hook is incredibly fun, and I want more unique items like that. This should probably come with quests and progressing the story again. We just don't know exactly when or how. We do have a good idea, likely tied to the expedition timeline. We know that's once every 8 weeks or so, and it looks like February 22nd for our next wipe and expedition is very likely. Maybe that's when it launches, or maybe it'll be like the 27th, starting on the 22nd, based on how they did it last time. But with that timeline, hopefully around then we get major updates, including that rebalance and new content, the arc, the weapons, maps and quests, community events and what else. People are very hopeful for February then because of that, which would mean another major update around April and sometime after that in summer and so on. So that's very positive. I do want to take a moment to talk about the idea of new arc. They're one of the best parts of the game. The unique way that they interact with players, how they adapt and behave specifically, how they respond to being attacked and working in unison. It's not just their unique designs that are fantastic, whether you got like the freaky nature of the matriarch or the shredders being completely unique compared to other arc as one of the other new ones. They were fantastic additions. And what I love about, say, the shredders is the way that they're not really the same as other arc that I fight. Especially with them updating their AI so they float and move towards you more, they get knocked around a lot less, though admittedly that was fun, it made them a bit easy. But bumping into a shredder at the wrong time, wrong place, like lack of cover or whatever, is devastating. Sure, I'll learn how they work and how to maximize the way to fight each and every one. That's a fun aspect of the game. But with shredders, even though I know how they work and how to really deal with them, I can still bump into one and have a horrible moment. Something I also think is very likely is changes to the matchmaking. Is aggression matchmaking real? It certainly feels real, which is basically don't shoot other players even if they're shooting you and you die. Do that long enough and it starts putting you with other players that aren't shooting on sight. Then you get to just sort of PvE your way for high levels with minimal risk behind it. Same thing for looting high value locations. The worst case scenario, someone's already been there, rather than they'll kill you when you are there. And if you are engaging with PvP, it's almost like a punishment compared to these PvE versions of matchmaking. In those lobbies, everyone shoots you on sight, and it swings fast the moment you first shoot back. So for this expedition, I took full advantage of this from day one. I ran a free kit into players and let them kill me 3 or 4 times in a row, then ran real kits and started hyper grinding in these passive lobbies where no one was shooting me anymore, even on Stella Montis. This let me blast the wipe progression so much faster than my first time, which to be fair, I'm an experienced player now, but yes, people never attacking me made it so easy. Using this strategy then, you reduce your risk, you increase the odds you get the rewards, and if you do PvP, the risk is way harder and the reward is either the same or just less likely to happen. It's a punishment then to engage with PvP at any point. That's the matchmaking system we seem to have, which I think is pretty bad. There's definitely going to be people in the comments of this video who say, oh, you shouldn't PvP, you should never attack anyone. But this goes the other way. We don't know how it truly works, but if someone attacks me and I shoot them back, does that put me in aggressive matchmaking? Certainly feels like it. So they do need to address it in some way. PvP lobbies should be more rewarding, maybe like higher chance of loot like map modifiers, increased XP reward, something. Because if they're going to keep them on passive matchmaking that seems to exist, I think the aggressive matchmaking should be more rewarding. Or, you know, they could just completely get rid of the system, and sometimes people shoot you on sight, sometimes they don't. But I just don't think it should stay the same way. Lastly, for very obvious changes or balance changes to the weapons. Something simple like giving the rattler 2 extra shots. You know, it does have an impact, but it's very minimal. I want to see big sweeping meta changes. The game needs it. And the biggest offender for me is the purple and expensive weapons not being remotely as valuable in combat and in general gameplay as they should be. Meanwhile, your uncommon grey weapons, your ferros, kettles, stitches and so on, they hyper overperform for how cheap and effective they are to run, upgrade and repair. We saw a change not too long ago for the bettina where they addressed how much durability burn it actually had. So it had more durability burn, way more, than your greys. And the idea for me with these purple weapons is that they're special, well-made guns, where your greys are like rusted scraps put together, you know? They shouldn't hold up over time. There are all kinds of ways they could make changes for this, but a simple idea that I have that might not be the best is higher durability burn for lower quality weapons and higher quality weapons significantly low durability burn. Like they last forever. You basically never have to repair them. That way you're not addressing the balance of the weapons, they still perform great how they are, but then, you know, your purples can run raid after raid after raid forever without costing nearly as many parts to continuously repair. But yeah, they could make changes however they want, I just want to see something different about it. But now let's get into the topic of everything I want to see. First up, next expedition, I need them to change that system. I can completely understand why they tried to thread the needle and satisfy everyone. They want players who are more casual or people who just don't want to reset, not to have to grind again. But they also want to let players who want reasons to play, the people who have completed everything and are kind of losing interest, reasons to play again, while giving them unique rewards like cosmetics and percent bonuses. In theory, that's fantastic, and it was fun. With the project system, a longer goal to work towards while building up resources is another interesting way to do it. That gave me a couple days to target push before it was done, satisfying to get ready for the wipe. Compare that to Tarkov's version, which is so much more brutal, you know, getting Kappa and the special quest line after that. I'm currently working towards Prestige 3 myself, and even now, I find those towards the end of Kappa challenges really tough, but really fun and rewarding. So projects that hand in relatively easy to gather materials, you know, I'm going to lose interest in that if that's what it is every wipe. But way worse than that was that unexpected request of 5 million coins, which was miserable. I don't have any positives here. The number was large enough to waste a lot of my time. The process was boring, where you simply farm optimal loot spots and leave the raid. You could also save high value single slot items in your stash value, which means higher tier weapons and attachments. What this did was encourage a very boring gameplay loop, only made worse by the fact that everyone else is doing it, which means very few people are doing any PvE, and PvP was a distant memory of fun. And if you weren't spawning next to a container, it was probably already looted, so it wasn't challenging, it was long, and it was boring. Worst of all, it encourages everyone not to use any good gear and minimally invest because you need to save your value. It was backwards. With a wipe with Tarkov, for example, everyone's going to lose everything at the same time. So they use every last drop of stash value, running the best equipment and having a lot of fun. Arc Raiders in its wipe system had everyone using level 1 grey weapons and minimal augments and free kits. It genuinely felt like a punishment that we have to go through before we get to have fun again, which was the wipe grind. There isn't any specific challenges or anything engaging with the content here. They could do something weird and interesting like you gotta kill a bombardier while all its legs are broken, and then we give you a skill point. Do not make me just grind 1 mil and use no gear. It needs a rethink and some changes. Also, off the back of that, their project timing for the seasonal event was terrible. Fun, to be fair, a temporary challenge for some neat rewards, like you get that first new Raider tool cosmetic, but this dropping before the wipe was so bad. You were trying to avoid wasting XP and progressing that and getting the rewards on the wipe because you know you're about to reset. So that even more so forced you to stop playing the game. Like they're encouraging you to not play the game. You shouldn't be doing that. So I hope they learn from that poor seasonal project timing. Put it out after the wipe. This next topic I think affects less people, but I do want to cover it. It's the trial system and, you know, the top end, Daredevil and so on. But this does affect people at lower ranks. I think there needs to be a solo, duos and trio category for each trial every week. That means you could do one of the three and it all works. It needs to be separated though, because in trios, 3 people can work together to kill stuff or go off on their own and get everything at once really quickly. A solo, obviously, can't be in 3 places at the same time, and they're competing their placements with people who are everywhere at the same time. So it's really bad for a solo player. 3 categories that all allow you to get placed and rank up would be better. Of course, there's also the event timers that are horrible. Hidden bunker, let's say it's available at 11 AM and 2 AM. That's horrible for someone with a job or a schedule. Hidden bunker is longer than, you know, your other raids, which means it's the optimal choice for arc killing runs. There's also the idea of people not playing for the first couple of days of trials. Again, a thing that encourages your players to not play the game. This means that grinders on day 1, 2, 3 will already be on a leaderboard somewhere because they were playing. But if you waited, you'll end up with a leaderboard with more casual people who play less or other people who waited. Not a foolproof thing there, but it does give you an advantage and makes it easier to rank up. So yeah, some issues there. I do think Trials is a great system in Arc Raiders, purely for the fact that it encourages unique and specific gameplay, putting your gear on the line in a way you never normally would, and the pressure that builds during a successful run that you actually want to survive on and bank that. When you reach higher levels like Daredevil rank, it starts to become pretty miserable because of the way the system is designed. So there's been a lot of feedback on this. I do hope they make some changes. One change that I'd like to see that I don't think will happen is a cosmetic change, where you make all the cosmetics more modular. You know how you can change bits and parts of an outfit? It'd be really cool if you could take bits and parts of one outfit and put them on another, making much more unique looking raiders. That's a very popular request, and I'm not sure it'll happen. Much like this last topic, late spawns. I want to see that change. If you let us choose to only matchmake into a fresh lobby, at the cost of like, you have longer matchmaking times, but you make that choice yourself. This way, you won't have to go in late, which will benefit people who are there to loot or, you know, trying to get a trial score. It also gives you the option to intentionally go in late if you want, which will be good for questing or something like that. And then you get the benefit of a faster queue time. I'd love to see that separated or, you know, some sort of player control. But yeah, that's my talk about Arc Raiders in 2026. I hope that we're mostly on the same page on this. If you guys have any other feedback or you want to continue any of these topics we talked about today, let us know in the comments. I'd be interested to see what people are thinking. We'll see what they do, but until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.